Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And today we're going to tell you how we felt about the Lethal Weapon pilot. This is a thing that I had no intention on watching, and certainly had no intention of being in a video on, so I'm going to let Eric kind of take the lead on this, because I ended up kind of walking in. Basically, I kind of walked in when he was watching it and got a little bit interested and watched it also, and we ended up just watching it together.
Yep.
And I still thought Eric was going to make the video by himself, but he asked me to be on with him. And so here I am, sort of a guest on my own show. So Eric, tell us a little bit about the Lethal Weapon pilot and about your unique history with this property, because this is like your favorite thing.
Do I flip my sign at the end of that?
No, yeah. What Eric has never done how we felt about it before. We do synopsis.
Okay.
And then, but I'll let you do a little bit of talking about Lethal Weapon too.
Okay.
And then I'll say, how did you feel about the Lethal Weapon pilot? And then you do your board, and then you do your sign. Go ahead.
All right. So, Lethal Weapon is my favorite film of all time. 2's pretty close. Usually when I do like a top 10 list, I just put Lethal Weapon 2 kind of in the number 1 slot. 1's better than 2, but I like 2 almost as well. It's my favorite movie, and it's written by Shane Black, who's my favorite screenwriter.
Mm-hmm.
It's really kind of how I find him. And so when they announced a TV show, because for years they've been talking about doing a 5. There's even a draft I think Shane Black writes for a 5.
Oh, wow.
That doesn't get made. So for years they've been talking about doing a 5 or doing a rebooted movie, and I never really cared. Like, I mean, I would like a 5. Theoretically, if it's good. 4 was okay and a fine cap to the series. So then out of nowhere, I didn't even hear buzz about there being a TV show being made, and then it's, oh, there's a Lethal Weapon show coming out in 2 months. And I watched the trailer, and I didn't hate it. My going into this, my opinion was, I'll at least give it the pilot. I will see if it's any good. I expect it to be pretty generic. And I kind of thought I'd watch it, like, that was whatever. You know, I don't know if I thought I'd hate it, but I was pretty sure it'd be whatever. And
wasn't some of your reservation, what is the point?
Oh, absolutely. I don't know why. And I mean, I'll say this up front. There's a little bit of me that wishes that this show was just a new show with just buddy cop influences. Mm-hmm. I'm still not sure exactly why this has to be Lethal Weapon. And that was certainly a thing going into it where I was just like, what more is there to say with this?
Yeah.
I think people know. I'm sure everyone on my channel knows. I don't know on Geekvolution. Lethal Weapon is my favorite movie, so I'm maybe the only person that has stake in this show, I guess.
Yeah. Well, can I hazard a guess as to like maybe suggest a theory as to why it has to be Lethal Weapon?
Because it's
name recognition. Yeah. This is a show that would have been harder to sell.
Sure.
And of course, is a thing. I mean, it's a moot point. It's probably, we have the rights to this. Let's make it a thing. So it's not like this show would happen without that name in the first place.
Right.
So that's a weird thing. But even if it did, like, there are so many procedural and buddy cop type shows that, like, making this stand out in any way,
it's true,
would be a difficult thing to do.
That's true.
And
you know what? Maybe if it's not called Lethal Weapon, even if it's exactly the same, I still don't watch it. Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know what would make you... I mean, I certainly wouldn't have. The only reason I watched it was because you were watching it.
Yeah.
And because you like Lethal Weapon. I have to mention that I'm coming at this from a complete unknown place.
You've maybe seen the first one you were a kid,
when I was a kid, I don't remember a whole lot about it.
We do need to watch that at some point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and I would like to, especially after seeing this.
Yeah.
But, and that's Donald Glover, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always liked him in other things.
Yeah, Danny. Donald is the young kid who was going to be...
Danny Glover. I always do this. And even, what's weird is, even before there was a Donald Glover, even when I was a kid, I called him Donald Glover. So then when that happened, I was like, wait, no, he can't be in the Spider-Man. Oh, that's not who we're talking about. Okay. And then I got really confused.
Do you ever mix him up with
John Glover?
With John Glover?
That happened too. When I heard John Glover was cast as Lionel Luthor in Smallville, I was like,
you're like, Marty's dad?
That's a weird choice. And then I went, oh, nope, that's not what we're talking about. Anyway.
Marty's dad's obviously Crispin Glover.
Yeah, I never had that. Somehow or rather, the Crispin Glover thing didn't get mixed in and all that. Whatever. Anyway, why don't you go ahead and tell us how you felt about Lethal Weapon as... Yes.
Okay, because you said we do synopsis.
We just, oh yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, okay, so we haven't even really done that yet. Yeah, you can talk a little bit about what happens in the episode and then flip your sign, sure.
It's a pretty, I mean, first of all, I don't think it's pilotitis.
It doesn't.
I'll give it that.
It doesn't.
It's, we open with Riggs going after some bad guys, and his wife has gone to labor, and she drives herself to the hospital, and then is immediately hit by a truck and dies.
Is that going to be a motif in the show? People getting hit by large vehicles?
I don't know.
Because then that's a big thing toward the middle too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Cause there's a reason I think it's there later. I don't know.
Let's
about
do a real
one.
short plot synopsis.
Okay. So he goes. He moves to L.A. He starts working. He transfers to L.A. Because he's a cop, and he starts working with Murtaugh, who has a family, and there's a DOA, just body that is found that we believe is a suicide. They don't think it's a suicide, and that leads to a bigger case.
And suicide is and mortality is kind of the theme of the whole show. The person who wants to die and the person who is mortified of death. It's kind of the central idea.
And we should note, because it's not a given anymore, this is a one-done episode.
Yeah.
This is not the first in a 12-chapter novel on television.
Yeah, certainly not.
It's a one-and-done episode, which I wasn't sure about.
Looks like a procedural show.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, go ahead and flip your sign.
All right,
flip your board.
My board,
yes.
not the sign.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. All right, so this show made me feel like I was watching a classic buddy cop movie with more Shane Black in its DNA than I expected.
I was wondering if you would say that, and if you would agree with me if I had said that with the limited Shane Black experience I've had, there was more of that sensibility here than I thought there would be.
Yep.
And it really makes you wonder how much he had anything to do at all with that story, because he gets a story credit.
He gets a story credit. I looked into it.
Okay.
Nothing has been said. The only thing I can find is him commenting that he has no interest in the TV show, but he wishes them the best of luck, and he assumes that there's not going to be any edge to that show, and it'll probably be a comedy. And that's just not interesting to him.
If that's what he says, then that story credit has got to be what little they took from the movie. That's got to be the only reason his name is there.
And there's like nothing there, and I feel like you get away with that with based on characters created by,
which is the next credit. That's
unless he later on gets more involved, and that hasn't been reported on. I don't know.
Yeah. But that's curious because his name's not there as a producer, and he would have a producer credit. I would think.
And there's certain things that happen in this pilot that feel very modern Shane Blacky, not just like stuff you would get from Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, but that could be influence from somebody, whoever's working on this really likes his material and has kept up with him.
That's true.
I was noticing even a little bit of Nice Guys-esque stuff. I mean, it's not as dark and sophisticated as that, of course. But I don't mean to lump dark and sophisticated. Those are two things that it's not as much as that movie. But for television, and for Fox, it was a little smarter than I might have expected.
I agree, and it's funnier than I expected.
Yeah, we laughed a lot.
We laughed quite a bit. It's actual good, funny dialogue, which is not a given on television.
And you were real skeptical of it.
Oh yeah,
going through. So I mean, and real critical.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of just I don't like it because it's different.
Yeah.
I don't know why Riggs needs to be from Texas.
Can I say, though, that having not seen Lethal Weapon and not comparing it to that, or having not seen it forever, not comparing it to that, you said early on, why does he have to be Southern? He's from Texas, but he's not got a thick Southern accent. He doesn't seem real super Southern to me.
He doesn't. Well, and when I said that, it was just that opening scene, which does feel really Southern.
It does, and then after that, not so much.
Yeah, and then after that, and they give a good because I said and then 6 months later, for no reason, he moves to LA. We get an explanation for that. We got more. The things I was like, well, why would you do this? We got more explanations for those things than...
They weren't arbitrary.
They weren't completely arbitrary. Some of them were character stuff, things like that. I think because Damon Wayans does not look... He's probably about the same age, if not older than Donald Glover.
He doesn't...
Danny Glover was in Lethal Weapon.
Sorry.
But I think they knew that, and that's why they had him just have a heart attack and have a surgery and have the thing, is that makes him feel more fragile, even though he's kind of a beefier guy than Don Glover was. And I thought that was a nice character touch.
And looks younger, I think, even than Danny Glover might have in that movie.
Yeah.
I'm not
I said
sure.
Donald again, I think.
What's that?
I said Donald again, I think. You got me all messed up now.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said I'm sorry about that.
But yeah, so there was a lot of choices that...
Boy, he does not look as old as he is.
No.
He looks fantastic. Like Wayne's, he looks fantastic.
Yeah. And I think that might be part of the reason why they gave him a surgery and the blood pressure monitor and things like that, which I all thought worked pretty well.
Besides to mirror and parallel the other cop.
Yeah, the big thing that I took away from this, and then, I mean, there's some other stuff that I'll get into. Do we do like a more general discussion after we do the likes?
We'll do a tiny bit if stuff comes up. If stuff doesn't come up.
Okay. Then I'll just kind of go through most of my thoughts.
Sure. Yeah. No. Go ahead. That's what this part is for.
For a while, I've been wondering, looking at how movies are going, and we're getting less and less action movies, or at least less and less notable action movies, because everything now has to be a big, sprawling epic, because we have the money to do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of action movies are either just disappearing, or they're trying to compete with superhero movies.
Yep.
And I've been wondering, why is no one doing the classic action movie show? Like, just do that as 40-minute episodes every week, and that's what this feels like. Yeah, it feels like a real classic.
And it scratches that itch wonderfully.
Oh yeah, that car chase scene is
and the bank scene is good.
Yeah, the bank scene's good too.
The car chase is one of the coolest, and like, I'll go this far as an action thing. One of the fresher things I've seen in a while on a TV show.
Well, and we said, or I said to you, I watched.
They wind up in the middle of a racetrack. It's hilarious and it looks really good.
Yeah, and they're jumping from car to car,
and it's like Indy 500 cars.
Yeah, it's
not NASCAR. It's like Formula cars, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool. You never see that?
Well, except for Iron Man 2.
It wasn't Formula Cars.
Oh, is it not Formula Cars?
I don't think so.
Oh, I thought it was. Okay.
Maybe it was. Maybe I'm forgetting that wrong.
But
forgetting that. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. Forgetting that wrong. I guess forgetting a thing
right
wrong would be having it correct. Maybe what would that mean? I'm sorry.
But I there's a point where I said to you, because it's not just like the scenes. I mean, the scenes are really good. Like, these could be 90. This could be a 90s action movie.
Sure.
Like scenes. But some of just the location establishing shots and things like that, there was a point where I turned to you, I was like, maybe my standards are in the floor because all the CW stuff. This show looks really expensive. Like, I look at what they struggle to do with their budget. This show has to... Either these people are unbelievably more talented than the CW people, which is possible, or
to be fair,
they have way more money.
To be fair, those shows have looked really good.
Not like this, though.
No. But they're not doing... To be fair, there's not visual effects and stuff in this show.
You could have a car chase scene.
Practical stuff.
And I think we have.
And we do.
And they've never looked like this.
They've never looked like this. Well, and I'll say this. I had to remind myself I was watching a TV show in a few places.
This is the show I think Fox thinks Gotham is?
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Really?
In what way?
Just that it's a kind of funny cop show that kind of has some darker elements. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so. I'll say this. I'm a little surprised it's on Fox. It doesn't feel dark and edgy enough for that channel.
I think it does a little bit, which is kind of the last point I want to get to.
Yeah. I
kind of hope that this show stays on for a bit. I enjoyed it. I will at least watch through the first season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'll do episode by episode. This show might actually warrant it because it seems like each episode will be its own little movie.
It's going to be a procedural, yeah.
I really
But I gotta be, to be fair, that's not real surprising with this premise. Like,
no.
Like, you're right. We do obviously more archy, more long-form storytelling overall these days. Cop procedurals are almost always like this.
That's true.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
I mean, Hawaii Five-0 is like this, I think.
Yeah.
Not that I've really sat down and watched this. And this is in that vein, where it's go back to an old property and update it and do it in present day.
But it's unlike most other, maybe all other cop procedurals on television.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't feel like a cop procedural. This feels like an action movie.
Yeah.
On television, which I really like.
My worry, though, after you say that, is that it's going to start looking to you more like a cop procedural as it goes on, because I felt like it was one part 80s action movie and one-part cop procedural.
Mm-hmm.
I thought after the race, before the kind of cool way we resolve the murder investigation, and the kidnapping plot and all of that, I thought it dragged quite a bit.
The stuff with his family?
Yeah. No, not the stuff with his family. The research after that.
Okay.
When they start investigating. That's typical weekly TV procedural stuff.
Yeah. But I don't mind it punctuated with, like, big action set pieces. Which is the thing that we don't do in procedurals.
Yeah, the thing, I don't know if you'll get that every episode.
Yeah.
Hopefully
yeah,
so.
yeah, we're not...
But then if the A-Team got away with it, why can't this?
Yeah, we don't really know at this point...
Because, I mean, that's got an explosion every episode. Like...
Well, this has a couple of explosions.
Yeah, yes, it does.
We don't really know at this point, just based on it being a pilot, if they sunk a lot of money into the pilot,
right,
and the rest of the show, the rest of the season won't look this good.
You gotta wonder,
possible.
Because, I mean, I haven't looked into it, of course, but you wouldn't expect it, like this seems like a risk. This show doesn't seem like a network would see it as anything like a surefire bet.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a show that you would give a lot of money. Like, it's a show that would have to prove itself, you know?
That's
I mean,
what
it's like 24 was at the beginning, and it's also Fox, and Fox has a history of canceling things prematurely, though they're better about it now because they have a different head.
Mm-hmm.
But Fox, 24, that was a premise. It was supposed to be 24 hours, and they were so unsure about it, they only ordered initially 12.
Mm-hmm.
This seems like that kind of thing to me.
Yeah, and I don't know, I just got this feeling because I kind of like it. It's not going to make it very far. I had the same thing. I only watched the pilot of that Carl Urban show, Almost Human. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. And that was canceled.
I think 2 seasons it got.
I think it got 2. I think I only got 1.
Are you sure?
I'm not positive.
I mean, I feel like I heard about that show for a little bit longer than a year, but maybe not. I'll have to look it up. I thought it was on longer than that. But I never watched it, so I don't know.
The thing that I really like about this show, and why I want it to stay on the air for a while, I really like that we have a protagonist that is living with suicidal thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something we do.
No, it's not.
I
was really impressed with it, and it's handled maturely, and somehow or rather lighter than you'd think that was possible.
Yeah, but we do it when we do suicide in television. It's usually a storyline, and it either ends with them killing themselves in tragedy or getting over it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how that works. If that's how that works, we would still have Robin Williams.
Yeah, that's right.
Those aren't things that just go away.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like having a television show that actually has a character living with suicidal thoughts, and that's going to be... And it's dealt with well.
And not like... And not vilifying him for it or making him feel any more depressing than he has to be. Mm-hmm. Because, of course, he's a depressed character. He's completely sympathetic. I understand why he feels the way he does. Mm-hmm. And the show is saying it's okay to feel the way you feel.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. It's not condoning or condemning suicide. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, no.
But it's really fair to people who have felt that way. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate that. Now, my reservation about it is how long can that possibly last? I worry if the show went on for very long. I feel like this could be a really great 13-episode show. Like if it gets canceled, if they play it right, it could be a really memorable show that was only on a season, and it's okay that it was only on for a season. But, because we always think TV shows are only successful if they're on forever, you can have a really good 1, 2, 3 season show.
Yeah.
Especially if it's one-and-done episodes like this. But I worry that there could be maybe a little bit of an X-Files thing here where you have two people that are in opposite mindsets, and eventually it gets much harder to keep them in those archetypes. So you've got the skeptic versus the believer. At some point, she's gonna stop being so skeptical. She sees so much. How long can he possibly continue to want to die?
Well, it's in the films.
Mm-hmm.
He does kind of resolve it by the end of the first film, and he's still kind of crazy for the rest of the films. But it's not the act of wanting to kill yourself for the rest of the films. So that could be just this season, and then he gets a little bit more stable because of something.
I just wonder if that's not if they're not going to try to stretch that and play it like that is always the dramatic situation, is that he wants to die and the other one is scared of death, and then they keep that going forever. I mean, the fear of death thing, yeah, I mean, you can keep that forever. Sure, I have that right now. But the other way, I'm a little bit worried that they might because this is a typical TV thing to do, right? Where you push that too far too early, and then you try to keep making us buy it, where, like, he starts to maybe kind of develop something to live for, and then we have to keep, like, contriving ways to screw that up.
To take it away.
I don't want that. That's like kind of love triangle nonsense, you know, that kind of thing. I don't want that to happen.
This show won't have that. Murtaugh's married.
Yep.
So I really enjoyed it. Both of the lead actors are doing things where they're borrowing kind of dialogue tics or mannerisms from the original actors,
ask you about that.
which I appreciate. They're not exactly the same, and the Riggs is pretty different. The big kind of change is he's much less respectful of Murtaugh's family, or of Murtaugh in relation to his family, than the Riggs is in the film. I didn't love that. Like, it was a funny scene.
I didn't feel like it was disrespect. I thought it was detachment.
Well, I'm not saying he was being disrespectful. Mm-hmm. He is less respectful than he is in the films.
Okay.
At least the first film. They're not exactly the same, but they're in the ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
I liked them. I'm not immediately like, yeah, they're just as good as the old ones. It's a lot better than I thought it was. So do I do the sign thing?
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. I'll at least probably, unless it tanks real bad, like 2 or 3 episodes in, I'll at least give it a season and see if it stays of consistent quality.
I'm excited that it was as good as it was and that you liked it as well as you did, because, you know, I kind of thought it would be a nothing show.
Yeah, so did I. That was what I was worried about.
And 15 minutes in, I turned to you and I said, I don't know why this show, being so 80s throwback, isn't just a period piece going back to that. I didn't have that by the end.
Mm-hmm.
By the end, I kind of thought the blend was okay. I thought the present day with those action, you know, 80s sensibilities was kind of working all right.
One thing that they do, being modern day versus the 80s, Riggs doesn't smoke, and that's just a character trait that makes sense with somebody who's suicidal.
You have this with so many people, though.
Well, it's because we keep taking away people's cigarettes.
Yeah.
But at least in this case, he's suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
That's a character trait that makes sense, and I don't feel like it's glorifying it, because I feel like if any character smokes television, we act like we're glorifying it.
No, that's understandable. On the other hand, it's not like every person that's ever been suicidal smokes. Like,
no, but it's a precedent for that character. That's a thing.
We also just aren't.
I like to
be
be represented on television.
But I'm just saying, we're also hardly not even allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So, like,
and I wasn't really expecting it on Fox, but it would have been nice, especially because they go darker than I thought they would. It's not like it's a super dark show, but we go a little bit.
I think the fact that nobody smokes in Gotham is crazier.
That's true.
That's an out of time show. It makes no sense that those mobsters aren't smoking. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so I went with the touchy-feely board. This movie made me feel... What's that?
It's a show. It's not a movie. You said this movie made me feel.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
This show... Well, I kept having to remind myself. This episode made me feel... This pilot, if you will, made me feel happy to be alive.
Oh, wow.
That's what I went with. This was, really weird way a feel-good show, I thought.
Yeah.
And... with that darker theme and dealing with suicide like that, I could not believe how light it was played without feeling like like it was being gratuitous about that. I was really impressed with that. It feels like a family show to me. And I don't like
it. Feels like a dad show. It feels like a show you watch with your dad, right?
Yeah, and like it's about a guy who wants to kill himself. I would about let my kids watch it. That's crazy. Like I was so excited about that. I think my wife would like this show. She likes action movies,
right?
And but there's a lot of stuff here with families and with children that really resonated with me as a dad and as somebody that's always really liked father-son stories and stuff like that. I really like the instant, and I don't think it's laid on too thick. The instant parallels between the two guys, where they are in their lives both has to do with their families and with their children. Mm-hmm. One lost his wife, and also it's hard not to enjoy a thing that isn't he's divorced and depressed, just because we do that so much.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, yeah, like having a wife who died is also a typical thing to do. But I'm just saying, it's nice. it's nice that sometimes you can actually have people getting along before tragedy. So he. It's a pretty optimistic show, I think. I mean, you've got a guy whose wife dies and she's pregnant, and the way that's played at the beginning, I think, is a little over the top. But I wasn't, just because I thought she was an idiot for getting in the car by herself to drive herself to the hospital, and it's played like these people are just like really self-reliant and everything's no big deal, and that was kind of fun. I thought maybe it was in her character if I knew more about her, because we don't spend any time with her. And that actress was just serviceable, but there's no screen time with her.
We don't see the light, so she could have been driving fine, and that car is not. Like, she might not have actually done anything wrong
because she was.
Yeah, she could have been driving correctly.
I thought she, looked down.
Well, she just kind of, looks down at this, but I think that's for us. I think that's to distract us from seeing the truck coming at her.
But I thought that's why she was like. I couldn't tell if she was, parked in the middle of the street or if she was at an intersection or.
It seems like she's just driving normal.
I thought she was stopped.
And then she starts driving, which makes me think she stopped the light and then.
Okay, I guess I was a little confused about space and where we were right then. For a second I thought they were trying to play it like her water broke, but I don't think that's what it is.
No, I think she just was having contraction or something because she just looks down rubs her belly.
Well, it's still you shouldn't drive. That's the lesson here, kids. Is if you're pregnant, don't drive.
Because you'll get hit by a semi truck.
Or if you're pregnant, you can drive when you're pregnant. If you're about to deliver, if your contractions are a couple minutes apart, maybe you don't drive yourself to the hospital.
Because semis are drawn to pregnant people.
Well, the other thing I thought was weird is that she was surrounded by people when she got in the car. She could have had somebody else take her.
That's true.
I thought that was weird.
Well, but they say they just moved in. She says, I just met the neighbor. That might be a little uncomfortable.
You're about to... Yeah, it's better than getting in the car by yourself. I don't want to belabor this. Anyway, So you have that, and then you have Murtaugh, is that his name? Murtaugh, okay. You have Murtaugh, who is older and I like that they're different ages like that. And I mean, I guess that's a Lethal Weapon thing. But I like that they're in different parts of their life, and one, because that's kind of a fun juxtaposition where one is young and wants to die, and the other one is old and wants to live as long as he can.
Yeah.
And he and his heart attack happens when his wife delivers a child they didn't expect to have in the delivery room, and I really like that. I like that both of the big extreme things that have got their lives going in different directions and have helped to kind of redefine them as people had to do with children, life and death, and especially and specifically delivering children and stuff. He has another kid. He sees this as almost like a second life now. He's pushing 60, and he's going to have another child, and he can.
Well, he just turned 50.
Oh, okay. I thought you said something at the end about 60, and I thought he was pushing 60.
No. Because his wife said that she was gonna do that thing as a late birthday present.
Right.
And then when Riggs shows up, she says, "Well, 60's not that far away."
I didn't hear what she said. I just heard him say 60 times, and I didn't know what he was responding to.
Yeah, no.
So I was just okay. So he's 50. I was like, I don't think Damon Wayans is pushing 60.
No. He's 50 2 weeks ago.
But anyway, so the family stuff really resonated with me. I think their chemistry is palpable. I think that immediately they work well together. I like that it's not played as a huge rivalry that we're going to have to really, really gradually get to where they like each other. They find that affinity early. I don't think that's forced. I don't think it's rushed.
No, and that wouldn't be Lethal Weapon. If it took a whole season for them to start liking each other, that's something else.
I like Murtaugh's wife a lot.
Yep.
I like his family. I think that whole thing is great. But the MVP and the best thing about the show for me is Damon Wayans. Oh my God, he's great.
He's really good.
I'm so excited. I'm gonna watch the show because I really like him. And I haven't seen him in a long time. I forgot I like him. He's funny. He's got dimension. He's really likable. And I feel like he's really come into his own as a middle-aged guy. I think he's better than he ever has been.
Oh, I agree. This is the best I've ever seen him. And he was the one I was most iffy about, just having seen the trailer. I don't know what it was.
It seemed like a weird pick.
Yeah, and his...
I guess it would have seemed like... I didn't know he was in it, so I was kind of surprised when he came on screen. I even had to ask, I was like, is that Damon Wayans? I didn't even know if he was still acting.
Well, and maybe it was just, watching the trailer, because it didn't bother me at all watching the show. in the trailer, his voice seems so high-pitched.
Oh, weird.
But Danny Glover has the lowest, gruffest voice of any guy.
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
So
And
it
he's
was
not
a
doing
real
that.
juxtaposition.
But yeah.
But it doesn't bother me at all in the episode. I was never like, his voice is so high-pitched.
His voice is maybe a little bit... I can't remember his name. His voice is maybe a little bit more like the guy who played Rhodey in the first Iron Man.
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of like...
Terrence Howard.
He sounds a little bit like that guy, maybe.
Yeah.
Where it's not low, it's kind of in the middle of his voice. He's like a tenor.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I love him. And again, I think those guys together are really funny, and I really liked them both. And again, I could see where they were both coming from. Yeah, I want to watch this show, and I'm surprised because it's not usually my kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was really watchable. It was really entertaining.
Well, and that's part of why I wanted to do this together was because you seem to really be enjoying it, and I was like, well, then you should come talk about it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for letting me do that. I was surprised. I mean, I didn't care.
Yeah, I know you didn't. I was because I saw about like 5 minutes of this, and then like the internet wasn't working. I was just saying things to you, and you just did not care.
Yeah, I was like, Lethal Weapon, who cares? And then you were watching it, and I got curious, and I sat down and watched it. But anyway, so I am feeling it too. I'm definitely recommending this pilot, especially if you think that a lot of things on TV, like there's not enough variety with like lighthearted stuff versus like really relentless and depressing.
Mm-hmm.
This is a show that can go to those dark places and talk about real things and still be really fun. Like boy, the juxtaposition with levity and drama is excellent.
I agree. Yeah, especially with that last. The big shootout at the end, where it's the kind of the Toy Story 3 of like accepting your fate, and then we take it away, and then we immediately make a joke, and it doesn't feel jarring at all.
Yeah, I was really surprised by how well that was blended.
I was surprised Briggs got shot twice. That's not a thing you do to characters in TV. You don't shoot them.
So anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Sure appreciate it. Eric may keep going with the show as far as videos. Don't know yet.
I might.
We'll see how much interest there is.
I mean, if the second episode really sucks, I don't think I'm gonna. But if it stays of this quality, I'll probably do videos. If it's good and there's things to talk about.
And at the very least, something on the season.
Yeah.
Thanks again for watching, folks. We sure appreciate it. We'll see you again next time. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
Bye.